Hello again, this is Chad Broshears, the founder of Go Figure Holistic Personal Training and the yet-to-be-named Institute. Anyway, I won't go into that. Alright, so today what I'm going to bring you is actually words that we use that offer a desired outcome or a avoidable or undesired outcome, or a desire to avoid anyhow. Both of these words, in my opinion, I'm going to give you the definitions and also some root origins for these words, but I'm going to express it a little bit more in the way that we kind of view things. And this also is coming from my own personal experience, as well as the many clients that I've worked with, as well as my own life experiences with my friends and everyone else in my life. So the first word, by the way, and these two words are basically the opposite end of each coin, or of the same coin. So, the first word is luck. So, first of all, luck, in its late Middle English as a verb, perhaps from the Middle Low German or Middle Dutch, lukken. I may be butchering that, but lukken or lucken. The noun use, late 15th century, is from Middle German, Luck, related to Dutch, Geluk. If you guys are over there and I'm mispronouncing it, please give me leniency. I have merely an American, at least a early development American education. I've chosen worldly, but I'm still getting over some of the initial stuff. So, anyhow. Alright, so luck or chance is an event which occurs beyond one's control without regard to one's will, intention, or desired result. The prescriptive sense is luck is supernatural, such as I don't believe in luck, and deterministic concept, that there are forces such as God or spirits which prescribe that certain events occur very much the way laws of physics will prescribe. And then there's the descriptive sense. Luck is a word people give after the occurrence of events which they find to be fortuitous or unfortuitous and maybe impossible. And improbable. By the way, that's sourced from Wikipedia. I've bounced it against other ones too, just to validate that these are pretty accurate in their definitions. All right, and then the cultural views of luck vary from perceiving luck as a matter of random chance to attributing to such explanations of faith and superstition. So that's one side of the coin. Give me a moment. And then we have the other side of the coin, which is the exact opposite. It is the Geminis, if you will. It's the twins, opposite of one another. So chaos is the opposite of luck. So that's actually from the Greek word chaos, but it's spelled K-H-A-O-S, and it means a vast chasm or void. And then it was later adopted by the French and Latin languages, which is chaos in the modern spelling of C-H-A-O-S, which is late 15th century, denoting a gaping void or chasm, later formless primordial matter. Now, the definition for chaos is complete disorder and confusion. In physics, the first definition is behavior so unpredictable as to appear random, owing to great sensitivity to small changes in conditions. Sounds... if you really start thinking about chaos, it starts to sound like the way we perceive it. And two, the formless matter supposed to have existed before the creation of the universe. Now, the reason why I've chosen to do these two words as the first one in the Rumpelstiltskin of language is because when you know to call it by its name, you no longer call it by a vague term. Like, I'm hoping that this occurs in a sense of luck. Oh, I was just lucky. Like, in hindsight. I was just lucky that happened. Well, if you can put together the series of events and be so aware of the series of events when things occur, you'll stop calling it luck. You'll start calling it by its truest name, which will be the description of the events or the description of the outcome, which will then therefore reduce or even eliminate you even wanting to call it luck. Because when you call it luck, it's vague, and you can't actually assist other people in achieving the same type of outcome because you can't describe it yourself. So it's a vague term, or it's a term used to express a vague experience. Now, how you actually work about this, and modern science is an easy way of finding out, as well as many other modern understandings, are easy ways of finding out. At once upon a time, we would have called this superstitiously luck for a lot of things, like just walking. For the first people that ever walked upright without being able to describe how to walk upright, they would call it luck. Breaking the 6-minute mile was considered to be impossible until somebody did it. And then I'm sure undoubtedly people looked at that as, oh, that person was lucky or gifted or whatever. But there's always going to be a situation where people want to default and say, yeah, that was just luck. Well, and the way things work, there are different theories, by the way, and I'm very aware of these theories, or at least very aware of some of them. Luck itself, again, is non-recreatable. It is a happenstance, which is another great word that describes something that we can't describe. So it is it's a description for a vague experience. The experience doesn't have to continue to be vague. If the same series of events occur that cause that term luck, eventually you'll stop calling it luck because you recognize the pattern to recreate it. So luck is the desirable side of the coin. Chaos is the opposite side of the coin, which is usually undesirable, almost always undesirable. So it's the same thing. It's just the outcome may be a little different because for both sides, you can't describe how to reach that goal. But if you understand how to get the structure yourself to cause the events, to get that to occur, you won't call it by the name anymore, the vague description. You won't call it luck or chaos. You'll call it by its Rumpelstiltskin name, which would be whatever that is. I'm at a loss for an example at the present time. Well, hell, actually, I do have an example. Once upon a time, we used to offer human sacrifices as a method. Almost every culture has done this. In my research, all cultures have done this, but forgive me if one of the cultures had not at one point in time in their development not caused or offered sacrifices for natural events that astronomers and weathermen couldn't tell you right now are just a series of patterns that were recognizable if you know what to look for. So if you want it to rain and it rains, you don't understand how the whole sphere above us and the gases and the wind and the way the water is carried in the clouds and all of that. If you understand it, you don't call it luck anymore. Hey, it's going to be a lucky day. It's going to rain. You're like, no, it's going to rain because of the precipitation and the humidity factors. And, by the way, back in the day, a lot of the times they watch the animals. There are certain animals that do a great deal of telltales, lizards and a lot of other quote-unquote lower life forms. And wooded areas also are great indicators. A lot of different cultures use this to find out when it's going to rain. But they gained influence by telling others, oh, I know it's going to rain because I'm a communicator of the gods or whatever, and that's kind of a tangent. I don't want to go far into that. But as far as the luck factor goes, if you can actually structure how to continuously get the same result in what you would have called lucky, you wouldn't call it lucky anymore. As well as chaos. You would know how to avoid it. So therefore, they are the same coin but opposite ends, dependent on your desire. If you want to experience something others would call chaos, then you don't call it by that anymore, and it's simply their relative experience that they don't want to experience that. So we have a desire to understand, so most of the time we're not going to desire to see chaos. We're going to desire to understand what the hell it is that we're seeing, and how to explain that to others in our communities. So, luck and chaos. Now, the Rumpelstiltskin, and why I'm choosing to call it this, is Rumpelstiltskin's origin is, it was verbal for the most part up until 1812, when Brothers Grimm, their book, Children and Household Tales. Now, this is when they decided to actually bring Rumpelstiltskin into a fairy tale that was recreatable. It was originally German. It was a German tale. But anyhow, for the people that aren't familiar with Rumpelstiltskin, he made a deal with a miller's daughter to spin a bunch of straw into gold. She was thrown into prison in a small room with hay and a spinning wheel, and threatened upon death if she didn't actually produce. And Rumpelstiltskin showed up, felt sorry for her, told her that he would spin her gold out of the straw if she gave him her ring. And then the second room, after the next day, the king said, "I want, do it again. If you don't do it, I'll kill you." He's a real nice king. So she did not have it happen again, and Rumpelstiltskin showed up again. She didn't know him by his name yet. But anyhow, the reason why this is relevant, he did it 3 times, basically. He married her, and she had promised on the third, because she had nothing to give this little imp or troll little guy, nymph. She had nothing to give him. So he said that if you give me your firstborn child, I will do this third task for you, which is this bigger room full of gold. And the king said he'd marry her or kill her. So marry her if she did it, kill her if she didn't. And sure enough, the little guy did it again. The little gnome did it again. And then upon, after being married and having all these things, and then Rumpelstiltskin showed, she didn't know his name yet. He showed and said, if you tell me if I'm come to collect my child, she offered everything she could, and he said, well, I'll tell you what, if you can answer one question for me within 3 days, I will allow you to keep your child. So he said, just simply guess my name. No, he went off and he disappeared for his 3 days. 2 days go by, she's fretting like crazy to try to figure it out, can't figure it out, and one of the gentlemen that worked for her was out and about and happened to come across the cave that he lived in, and he was out dancing around the fire, and he was saying his name. He was all cheerful that she was never going to guess it. Well, he went back, the gentleman that worked for her went back, told her, and then she guessed his name. Short into the story, he wasn't allowed to take the child because he honored his agreement, and he basically ran away. There's multiple different variations to the end, depending on the old culture that picked up on it. But anyhow, that's why I've chosen Rumpelstiltskin for these words, because if you know to call the word or call the action and the structure to fulfill on this thing by its name, you'll no longer call it by luck or chaos. I have more words in this series, but this is the first 2 of those words. So I hope you've enjoyed this series in today's video. Please feel free to leave information or anything on the bottom of the video on YouTube or on wherever else you may see it. And thank you very much. And these are just interesting concepts to consider. So, a quick little note. I am only bringing this to you so you have something to work with, so you don't leave things in a vague experience, and therefore you can recreate what you desire, or you understand as you're creating what you don't desire to avoid that, if you choose you want to avoid it. So, that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and Ubuntu, my friends.